Jai Hind dear students, I am Dr. Preeti and today we are going to revise the Human Digestive System. In 10th standard, you are usually not asked to explain the entire digestive system, but you could be asked to explain any particular part of that like stomach, liver or the role of small intestine. So we'll see everything in detail so you can answer that specific part whichever is asked in your exam. So let's start with that. The human alimentary canal. The human alimentary canal starts from the mouth. The food first goes into the mouth, into the buccal cavity. In the mouth, there are three things which are helping in the process of digestion. First is the teeth that helps you to chew the food. Tongue helps the food to be mixed up with the juices secreted in the mouth. And which is that juice? That is the saliva. The saliva is secreted by the salivary glands. Salivary glands are present in the mouth that open in the mouth. And these salivary glands open into the mouth and their secretions helps in the process of digestion. That helps the food to make it moist. It moistens the food so that it's easy to swallow. Then the tongue also helps in the process of swallowing of the food so that it goes from the mouth into the esophagus. One very important thing is that there is salivary amylase present in the saliva. This salivary amylase helps in the digestion of carbohydrates. So if you are asked at which part of the body, at which part of the alimentary canal the digestion of carbohydrates or the digestion of starch starts, it is in the mouth itself. In the mouth, there is no digestion of proteins or fats, but only of the carbohydrates. So carbohydrate digestion starts right in the mouth itself. Then the food goes into the esophagus. The esophagus is a long tube-like structure that connects the mouth up to the stomach. This is the part where the food is now going to go from the mouth. Now, when the food goes from the mouth to the esophagus, there is alternate contraction and relaxation of the muscles of the esophagus so that the food is pushed downwards. These alternate contraction and relaxation movements of the esophagus is known as peristaltic movements or simply peristalsis. Remember, this peristalsis not only occurs in the esophagus, but it occurs in the whole alimentary canal. It occurs in the whole gut. Whole gut means it will occur in the stomach, small intestine, large intestine. So in every part of the alimentary canal, this alternate contraction and relaxation of the muscles will be there so that the food is propelled in the forward direction. Such movements are known as peristaltic movements or simply peristalsis. So for 1 mark, you could be asked, what is peristalsis? Alternate contraction and relaxation of the muscles of alimentary canal to propel the food in the forward direction. Now, the food enters into the stomach. So, once the food enters into the stomach, it is going to be there in the stomach for 3 to 4 hours for the process of digestion. In the stomach, there will start the digestion of proteins. So, always remember, you could be asked in your exams that from which part of the body is the starting of the protein digestion taking place. So, that is from the stomach. Okay, how stomach is helping in the process of digestion? Let's see that. Stomach has 3 important secretions which are there in the stomach. These are HCl, an enzyme known as pepsin, and a thick layer of mucus is there to protect the stomach. We'll see the role of each of these. Now, first thing is that in the stomach there is a very strong acidic medium that is created because of the secretion of hydrochloric acid. It's a very powerful acid. So, hydrochloric acid is secreted in the stomach and this acid is very important. What are the benefits of this acid? This acid kills any microorganisms that enters along with the food into the digestive tract. So, it is going to kill all the microorganisms. The second function of HCl is activation of pepsin. The pepsin which comes into the stomach, that is in the inactive form. It's still not active. It has to be activated. Activated means like it has to be aroused so that it can perform its function. So, to activate this pepsin, what is required is HCl. This HCl will activate the pepsin and now the pepsin will be able to perform its function. What is the function of pepsin? Pepsin helps in the digestion of proteins. So, that is why I am saying that the digestion of protein is going to start in the stomach. Okay. Next important thing is there. That pepsin is going to help in the digestion of proteins. Apart from that, HCl is also secreted in the stomach they both can destroy the stomach, because the walls of the stomach are themselves made up of proteins only. These walls of the stomach are themselves made up of protein only. So if this pepsin and this HCl damages the stomach layer only, then how we will be able to survive? The stomach will be destroyed. So to protect the stomach from the effect of HCl and pepsin, in the stomach there is a thick layer of mucus that protects the stomach. Okay, so there is a thick layer of mucus that protects the stomach. One more important question related to digestive system is, name some biological catalyst. What are biological catalysts? Biological catalyst means any of the enzymes. These enzymes helps in the speedy digestion of food, and that is why they are known as catalyst. Okay, so whenever you are asked about biological catalyst, you can name any enzyme. It could be salivary amylase, it could be pepsin, or any other enzyme that we are going to see up next. Okay, now from the stomach, when the food has to come out, the last part of the stomach is having a sphincter. What is a sphincter? Sphincter is a circular group of muscles. These circular group of muscles, when they contract, they just close that opening. So when the food is there in the stomach for 3 to 4 hours, digestion is going on. At that time, the stomach is continuously moving to digest that food and mix it properly with the digestive juices. Then the contents from the stomach can come into the small intestine. But we don't want that. We want that the contents should be there in the stomach only for 3 to 4 hours. So what is preventing the food from the stomach to come into the small intestine is the sphincter muscle. These sphincter are circular muscles. When they contract, they just close the opening. So this last part of the stomach is having sphincter. Now after 3 to 4 hours, the sphincter is going to open slightly, so that very slowly the food from the stomach is going to come into the small intestine. So from the stomach passing through the sphincter, the food is going to come into the small intestine. Small intestine is a very important, plays a very important role in the process of digestion. Why? In the small intestine only, we will be receiving the secretions from the liver. Liver is a digestive gland, and this liver produces bile juice. Okay, जिसको हिंदी में बोलते हैं पित्त. You must have heard that. So the liver produces bile juice or bile. This bile is very important, and once the liver prepares this bile, it stores the bile in the gallbladder. Okay, you must have heard, your mother must have heard at least, the gallbladder, and we in Hindi we call it as पित्त की थैली. So your mother might be aware, your parents might be aware that पित्त की थैली remove कर दी. Sometimes it happens in some like pathological conditions, some disease conditions, this gallbladder need to be removed even. So this gallbladder is a place where all the bile from the liver will be stored. And this, whenever we eat food and now the food comes from the stomach into the small intestine, the liver and the gallbladder will be releasing all the bile into the small intestine. So from the liver, all the bile will be coming into the small intestine. I'll tell you the role of this bile just after 1 minute. Apart from that, secretions from the pancreas also come into the small intestine only. Okay, secretions from the pancreas. Pancreas is a gland. It's a mixed gland. You have heard about pancreas in the endocrine system also, that produces the hormone insulin. And here in the digestive system also we read about pancreas, because that is going to produce the digestive juice also. So pancreas will be producing the digestive juice. It is containing some enzymes, and that will come into the small intestine. Okay, now from the liver and from the pancreas, both the juices are coming into the small intestine. But the enzymes present in the pancreas can act only in alkaline medium. Now this is a problem, because the food that is coming from the stomach is highly acidic, and the pancreatic enzymes refuses that we are going to act only in alkaline medium. Alkaline means basic conditions. So the pancreatic enzymes can act only in alkaline or basic conditions, basic medium. Then the bile juice says, I am there to help you out, don't worry. The liver is producing bile, and that bile is alkaline in nature. So that bile juice makes all the food alkaline, and so now the pancreatic enzymes can act on it. So one of the function of this bile is making the medium alkaline. This bile is going to prepare the alkaline medium for the functioning of pancreatic enzymes. Okay. Next, one more important function of bile is there. That is emulsification of fats. What is this emulsification of fats? Emulsification of fats means if big fat molecules are there, then the enzymes can act only on the surface of the fat molecules. These enzymes cannot enter inside the fat molecules. So what will be happening? Only the digestion of the fat that is there at the surface, that will be there. And there will be no digestion of fat that is present inside this spherical structure. Fats always forms big globules. So how to digest the fat now? For that, the bile makes emulsification of fats. Emulsification of fats means these big fat molecules are broken down into smaller fat globules. These big fat molecules are broken down to small fat globules, and now the enzymes can act on the surface of these fat molecules and completely digest that fat molecules. Okay, this process of breaking large fat molecules into simpler ones is known as emulsification of fats. Okay, I want to tell you one extra thing, that even at home you can see what is the effect of emulsification of fats. Take a glass of water and put some oil in that. And when you try to dissolve that fat oil into water, you will not be able to mix that, because all the fat, all the oil will be at one place only. Now put some detergent or dishwash soap or liquid hand wash into that glass and try to mix it with a spoon. You will find that now all the oil will not be at one place only. It will be getting into small fat droplets. That is emulsification of fats only. That is done by soap also. Okay. So this emulsification of fats in our body is performed by liver, that is preparing the bile juice. And this emulsification of fats breaks the big fat molecules into smaller ones. Okay. One more thing, one very important thing about this bile juice, remember as a 1 marks question, that this bile is the only digestive juice that is not containing any enzyme. No enzyme is present in the bile juice. So it only performs the emulsification of fats, and it also makes a medium alkaline, but it doesn't contain any enzyme for the digestion of food. Okay. Now, next, the functions of pancreas. This pancreas are present just below the stomach, and their juice comes into the small intestine. This juice contains trypsin as well as lipase. This trypsin is there for the digestion of proteins. But you might say that in the stomach only the protein digestion was completed, because pepsin was also there for digestion of proteins only. Yeah, pepsin and trypsin both are meant for the digestion of proteins only. But in the stomach, the protein digestion starts, but it's not yet completed. So that complete digestion of proteins will be taking place in the small intestine. Okay, so trypsin is there for the digestion of proteins. Apart from that, pancreatic juice also contains lipase. Lipase is for the digestion of lipids. Lipids means fats. So lipase is for the digestion of fats. And these fats will be broken down into fatty acids and glycerol. Proteins are converted to amino acids. Fats are converted to fatty acids and glycerol. Fine? Okay. Now, apart from pancreas and the liver, the small intestine itself also prepares some digestive juice that comes into the small intestine. Small intestine's name is small, but its length is too large. It is the longest part of the alimentary canal. Then why we are calling it small? Because its lumen is narrow. Okay? If the lumen of small intestine is this much, the lumen of large intestine is this much. That is the only difference. If we consider their length, the length of small intestine is really the maximum as compared to all other parts of the alimentary canal. So it is the longest tube. Okay, but it's a highly coiled structure. पूरा coil करके उसको इधर रखा हुआ है. So it is a highly coiled structure. So when you sometimes when you keep some pipes away, store the pipes that you use for watering your garden, you just roll it and make it a coil-like structure, na? So similarly, in the stomach, in the abdomen also, this small intestine is closely packed in a small place. Okay, but it's really a very large, like longest tube. Okay, approximately the length of small intestine is approximately somewhere around 6 meters. And 6 meter length, you want to know, it's approximate length of your mother's sari. Okay, so the sari length, you can imagine, is so long, na? That is approximate length of the small intestine. Okay, now this small intestine plays a very important role. You could be asked explain the role of small intestine in the process of digestion. So you will say in the small intestine there is complete digestion of food. Complete digestion will be taking place in the small intestine. So every food item will be completely digested in the small intestine. What will happen? Where can I write? I don't know. The board is all full. Carbohydrates are converted to glucose. Proteins are converted to amino acids. And fats are converted to fatty acids and glycerol. Remember that. Okay. So, in the small intestine, all the food is completely digested. The digestion of all the food items is completed, and all the carbohydrates are converted to glucose, all the proteins are converted to amino acids, and all the fats are converted to fatty acids and glycerol. Okay, that will be there in the small intestine. Now, everything is digested completely. Now, what next we want to do is, we want to absorb this food. So, absorption of food also takes place in the small intestine itself. Okay, all the food that we have digested, all the glucose that is formed, amino acids, fatty acids, glycerol, all that will be absorbed by the small intestine, and that will go into the bloodstream. How the small intestine is going to help in this process of absorption? Suppose, where can I draw? Here I can draw, I think. If this is a small intestine, then the small intestine has villi-like structures. Finger-like projections are there that increase the surface area of the small intestine. So, the small intestine has finger-like projections, and these finger-like projections are going to further increase the surface area. And when your surface area is increased, then the complete absorption of all the food will be there. So, when you are asked to explain the role of small intestine, you will say that in the small intestine, complete digestion of food will be taking place, and all the carbohydrate will be converted to glucose, proteins to amino acids, fats to fatty acids and glycerol, because of the action of the enzymes coming from the pancreas, the secretions of the liver, that is bile, and the presence of secretions from the small intestine itself, that is producing the intestinal juice. All these three are acting in the small intestine and completing the digestion of food. Apart from that, there is complete absorption of food, which is helped by two factors. Complete absorption of food takes place because of two qualities of small intestine. First is its length. Small intestine is it is the longest tube, and so a large area is there through which the absorption of food can happen. Second thing is that it has some finger-like projections known as villi that further increase the surface area, and so the absorption will be completed in the small intestine. Fine. Now, after the small intestine, whatever food was there, whatever nutrients was there, was already absorbed by the body, and now what is remaining is only the waste material, roughage, and some amount of water and minerals are still there. Okay, so that absorption of water and minerals will be taking in the large intestine. So from the small intestine, the food is going to go into the, whatever material is remaining, that is going to go into the large intestine. You can see this part is the large intestine. So the material is going into the large intestine, and in the large intestine there is still absorption of water and minerals. Okay. Now whatever is left is the waste product, that is the solid waste. That solid waste will be stored in the rectum, and it will pass out of the body through the anus. This anus has anal sphincter, and this sphincter, I told you earlier also, sphincter means circular muscles. The circular group of muscles is there that's kept contracted, but when this waste has to pass out of the body, that sphincter is going to open up, and the food and the waste material, the solid waste from the body, will be passed out through the anus. Okay, so solid waste passes out through the anus, and remember, urine passes out through the urethra. Okay, so that waste will be passing out through the anus, and that's all about the process of digestion of food. Okay, things to remember in all this is that salivary amylase is an enzyme present in the saliva that starts the digestion of carbohydrates in the mouth. Protein digestion starts in the stomach. Next is liver is a digestive juice, but that doesn't contain any enzymes. Stomach makes the medium acidic, but the pancreatic enzymes can act only in the alkaline medium. Okay, so all these points you need to remember. I hope this topic is clear to everyone. One last thing that I want to add extra, that is given in the NCERT book. It's not extra from your book. That is the length of the small intestine. The length of, sometimes you might be asked that in which type of organisms the length of the small intestine is maximum. The length of the small intestine is maximum in herbivores and minimum in carnivores, because plant food takes a lot of time to be digested. Digestion of plant food that contains cellulose, it's much more difficult as compared to animal food. Okay, so the herbivores will be having the longest small intestine, and the carnivores will be having the smallest small intestine. The length, if you compare that of a carnivore and a herbivore, the length of the small intestine will be larger in case of a herbivore. Okay, so I hope everything is clear to you all. Hope you score really well in your exams. Good luck everyone. You can take a screenshot. I'll just shift to side. That's all for today. Good day everyone.